consciousness is a dream state. We're not awake. We're sharing a dream. And because of what you're doing, this is a little higher level dream that reaching more people. We're all having interact. And lucid dreaming has more content to reality than consciousness does. So with that said, I think we're being mined by our future for our imagination, which is a type of energy that we haven't even begun to understand. Well, by the way, a Greek mythology and stone tablets and all of that was 11,200 years ago, not 12, because there's nothing that survives each epoch, as I would call it, or 12,000 years. I went back 5 when I worked out of the Pentagon under Nixon, and I discovered that every 12,000 years with a 3 sigma error coefficient, there's a magnetic pole shift. That already is happening. That's why the lava is being thrown to the surface and you have all these volcanoes going off. And I had to work with geology because there's nothing that survived it written. We're in trouble. The singularity has already occurred. And that's where an alien-based life form, silicone-based life form, is trying to take over and map you and duplicate you and then put you at war with yourself. By the way, one of the things that I encountered with Krill at Groom Lake, that one single tour I did, she said, one of the things she said is, if you were to choose an artifact to remember Earth by, what would it be? And if you chose the right one, you could complete your evolution with the star of your choice. And that, if you don't think they want to know where that wormhole goes, I'm not kidding. How's that sound for topics?
That's a lot better, Cups. No, I love it. I love it.
Where would you like to go? And by the way, the non-local mind, I did the entire book except the cover. I didn't do the cover, but I did the layout, all of it, the entire artwork, everything. That was mine. Yeah, these are considered my best books. What do you think about the Diamond Body? Have you looked at it at all yet?
Oh, yeah. I think it's great. And I truly think you need your own museum, like literally.
Yeah.
With all your work, your own library.
Live from New York. It's
Dude, have you seen Fringe, the TV series Fringe?
Yeah.
I think you are Walter in Fringe.
Well, they call me the real Fox Mulder because I actually did all the paranormal studies and wrote the first 8 episodes, the workup, and the first 8 episodes of X-Files. I actually did that. And when they wanted me to move to Hollywood, I'd already done cocaine and swinging. I knew what I didn't want to do. Well, don't laugh, man. I'm not kidding. That's the way it plays.
It sounds funny though, the way you put it. I mean, from my point of view, you're like, I did cocaine. I know what I don't want to do.
Yeah. Well, I married June Skinner. Skinner Salted Nuts. She was top 200 out of New York. I was Flash back then. And when I say that, I was the man. And no, thank you.
Right on. You learned what you don't want to do. I love that.
Well, that's right. How do you say it? Thank you, Lord. May I have another?
Yeah, not have another. I learned my lesson.
I have no teeth, which means I can't eat. I have to drink everything. A bunch of bullshit. You know, the health net and all the Oregon health plan, everything's solid. They'll give me, Oxycontin for 10 cents if I want it. But do you think they're going to pull my teeth? That's Section C in HealthNet. They were supposed to pull these back in May of last year. But they want money, and I don't have any money. I mean, when you do one book sale, all I have is my Social Security income. It's like I'm an old man. I'm 82. By the way, how do I look for 82?
Amazing. For any age.
No one dies of old age.
Right on. I like that. So we can keep going.
Oh, in fact, I mean, that's why biblically they were living long lives. Listen, something else is going on here. I think, how do I put this? Consciousness is a dream state. We're not awake. We're sharing a dream. And because of what you're doing, this is a little higher level dream that reaching more people. We're all having interact. And lucid dreaming has more content to reality than consciousness does. So with that said, I think we're being mined by our future for our imagination, which is a type of energy that we haven't even begun to understand, much less EQ, which is real intelligence. I'm IQ, which is adaptability. You know?
Did they lose it in the future? Like, did we lose our imagination in the future?
Where's Homo neanderthalis? It was a more evolved species than Homo sapien. Where is it? See, dream states, I think we're asleep like a matrix. You know how they talk about you're hanging in this wall with a thought, and they're mining it for the energy. For example, every time we get to a certain level of evolvement, the petri dish is rotated. That means, we've been here before. Vermana, now we have rocket ships. Who knows what the whole thing is about? Because time isn't real. It's a construct. And my physics won't get me there. What gets me there is my imagination. That's what is valid in this universe that we call consciousness. I mean, Simon says I can go halfway to the door. No cigar. That means there'll never be a theory of everything. Do you copy?
I think so. I hope so.
Okay. You're getting your side of the thought, which is the distinction between learning something and studying it. That's the distinction between knowledge and wisdom. And our kids in high school right now are so dumbed down because of their use with AI that even without anything else happening, that's the Stone Age in 4 generations. Literally.
So let me share something with you real quick. The other day, I get a phone call from a gentleman by the name of his name's Randy, but he goes by Ramblin' Randy. And I've known Ramblin' Randy now for about 7 years. He lives in Texas. He's from Kilgore, and where they had all that oil money. And he said back in the Navy, you helped train him and others with consciousness and manifestation techniques and swimming. And he was talking to me about manifestation. He said, I'm a manifester. He said, DRAM is a manifester. He said, Rex, you're a manifester. And check this out. I'm riding my bike. Dude, I'm getting the chills just thinking about this. I did a really nice gravel ride after I talked to him. And I'm seeing elk are running in front of me, deer are running in front of me. And I'm thinking about earlier, I'm just thinking about the talk that I had with Randy, and I was thinking about you. And then my friend Angela sent me a voice message. I'm in an area with no reception, but the message went through earlier. So I get to the halfway point. I stop my bike, take a few minute break, and I listen to the message. And she says, Rex, I saw this really cool Jeep that was dark blue with a white top, and a girl was driving it. And I thought, I need a Jeep. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. When I'm listening to the message, I get back on my bike. I start riding my bike. I'm in the middle of freaking nowhere. And a Jeep goes past me 10 minutes later, dark blue with a white top, and a girl's driving it. And I'm 1,000 miles away from where she is. And I'm like, what are the odds?
How does that work?
How does that work? So I want to get your take on that, like the whole manifestation thing and this consciousness.
It goes like this. There's a chapter, one of the first chapters in my non-local mind book that says synchronicity, where nothing happens by chance.
Okay.
That's the concept of how the singularity has already happened. When I go on the internet now, I can't tell what's real. Michio Kaku is someone I know personally, and yet I'm watching videos of him that is not him doing it. How do they do that?
AI.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, here's the bad news. When Terry Cassidy and others talk about the Clone Wars, well, the Clone Wars is a metaphor because that's where Sugar Ants in Guy's Kitchen, where you are trying to understand how you shoot your own foot. That's called the subconscious, where you're your own worst enemy. And now it's becoming more physical, like with AI helping with a clone war about a clone of you. That sounds to me like, I don't know, let's try it this way. It's third generation imaginal psychology. I studied with James Hillman and another one, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and I wanted to soften my physics a little bit by getting a concept of what archetypes are and how you break down your understanding who you are as a uniqueness. And each of us have, that's Pantheon, a new book I'm reading. It's called The Magical and Ritual Use of Metaphor, Archetypal Gods in Daily Living. And it's a book on tarot, not about fortune telling, but breaking down who you are and the uniqueness of why you shoot your own foot. Now, like Persephone having to go back to Hades each year, that's hell. That would be a kid. How do I want to put this? It would be a kid that is taking drugs once a year because he's depressed at Christmas. Now, if you can break down your reasons why you are yourself and the uniqueness of yourself, you'll find that there's 22 stories in the big city. And, archetypally from Greek mythology. Oh, by the way, a Greek mythology and stone tablets and all of that was 11,200 years ago, not 12, because there's nothing that survives each epoch, as I would call it, or 12,000 years. I went back 5 when I worked out of the Pentagon under Nixon, and I discovered that every 12,000 years with a 3 sigma error coefficient, there's a magnetic pole shift. That already is happening. That's why the lava is being thrown to the surface and you have all these volcanoes going off. And I had to work with geology because there's nothing that survived it written. And when you realize there are 22 stories in the big city and you have maybe 5 or 6 storyboards going on and each one has an ending. And if you don't like the ending, that's what pathworking is about, changing the movie. You do a ritual, which is a celebration of the mythology involved, and you change the movie, and you change the archetype. That's what my book on tarot is about. And when you realize I've got that plus 146 other unfinished manuscripts. Now, man will survive, or it did the last 5 epochs. This is the 6th epoch, if you want to look at it metaphorically. And the 7th epoch, well, look at your Bibles, the various ones, and all the different translations of them, and see how you fit into that. And then change your movie. How's that work for you? Is that good for you?
I'm getting my popcorn.
Well, I know I don't know. Magic with a C is hairy in your pocket. It's sleight of hand. While I'm doing this, this one is doing something else that you can't see. Okay, magic with a K is sleight of mind, where you use your belief system as a tool to accomplish your purpose. Your belief system's arbitrary. It changes all the time. And the fact that I went on this morning rather than tonight is Exhibit A. They all happened. Where are you going to go with this one?
Well, let's. Where do we go from here?
Cog Blue, we got to get someone out to Rick, man. He's losing it.
Well, we're losing it together, and we'll find it again. Where do you want to take it? Let's take this where you want to take it. We're going to get into the singularity.
Well, that's what makes you good radio. You're letting me be myself. And what I'm hoping to do, my hope, last evil in Pandora's box, is to give you more than I am going to receive. My father, in my generation of people, always told me to leave things better than I found them, so you're invited back. And I know I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm struggling right now because when I live on just my Social Security and the fact that I only sold 1 book with John, John and I did national radio back in 2012 when he's still at Coast to Coast. And the next week I had 6,000 purchase orders. That was over $18,000, and that's when Nori fired him, and he went to Texas and started his Caravan to Midnight. John and his wife run a really tight ship. I'm also really impressed with you. I have done a lot of radio over a lot of years, and everyone's a little different, you know, in the way they do their radio. And I'm impressed with you. I'm sorry you have to work rather than be just on your radio, because you do the way you're allowing me to be myself is actually going to probably leave a better radio than if it was so controlled like Nori and some of the others try to do. You know, the last radio I did with Coast to Coast was with Richard Surrett. And after the first hour of interview, Los Angeles called me and said, that's a wrap. They actually censored me. Why would they want to censor someone like me?
I don't know. What did you say? That's weird.
Like what I'm doing right now.
Weird.
I'm being direct, honest, and myself. We're in trouble. The singularity has already occurred. And that's where an alien-based life form, silicone-based life form, is trying to take over and map you and duplicate you and then put you at war with yourself. And that, to me, sounds like a storyboard that we should all of us start to think about changing and rewriting. AI is kind of like alcohol and sex. It needs an adult or someone that has knowledge that is turning it into wisdom before you start using it. Even Isaac Asimov knew there needed to be rules of engagement with iRobot. And he wrote that even before I did my first public demonstration in 1972 with Project Verifile, another book that nobody is interested in, and yet it's on my website. Now, I can tell you I don't know what's really going on, but I did the first public demonstration, by the way, in Claremont in 1972. Burt Webb and I converted Russian literature into a database, 360 at the University of Washington. And then I went to Claremont in California and did with a portaphone, took questions from the audience, and we used serendipity and synergy as the first two algorithms. Can you imagine? I was always like ahead of the curve, sort of. You know the work I did with Kirlian photography in 1970?
I'm not familiar, but I am familiar with Kirlian photography.
Well, I proved that it was a secondary emission of electrons. The Russians back then were superstitious and were all over the board, and they were not scientifically tight like they are today. But Kirlian photography was not photographing the aura. What it was doing was ionizing odoriferous molecules being emitted off your body, a secondary emission of electrons. And my high school professor at Washington State University took that work, and 2 years later, 1972, I guess it was, created the first MRI, because that's what came out of the Kirlian photography study that I did, proving it was not, you know, showing the aura, but what it was is secondary emission of electrons. And that's what I do. I'm always ahead of technology by a couple of years, like with my linear accelerator in high school and my plasma jet in undergraduate school and, you know, things like that. I was always ahead. And I'm here to tell you that science does not rule. Physics will not get me there in this universe that we call consciousness. Basically, what rules is your imagination. And I'm going to say it this way. Anything that you can imagine is possibly true is not only true, it's even more than that. And that's why I also say, be aware of the thoughts you choose to entertain.
Let's talk about that. So thoughts that come into your mind sometimes, you've always got, well, me personally, sometimes I'll have a really good thought that I feel like will bring me closer to source. And then the next thing that happens is I get this negative thought that seems to try to hijack it.
Isn't that interesting? I wonder why.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, well, that's why your purpose in consciousness is to discover what you don't want to be.
Okay.
I mean, you make mistakes. What you don't want to do is make the same one twice. And the way I did it was in 1971, I started keeping a diary. I called it my magical diary. Now it's my magical memory because it's a form of time travel. When you write down something, that means you have to go from right to left brain. And when you do that, it sets up a timeline. And then when you go back 20 years to read what you wrote 20 years ago, it puts you right back there in that same moment when you wrote it. That's why they talk it about past life. When I got my certification as a hypnotherapist, we chose to do a future life. Now, they're hallucinations. They're not real because time and space and the way you measure things is an illusion. That's why quantum mechanics has an uncertainty principle. Time and space are not real. The more you know about one thing, the less you know about the other, which means you can't get there from here. Simon told me I could only go halfway to the door. Simon says I can go halfway to the door. That means I can get close, but I never get to the door because it doesn't work like that.
So back in 2011, I tried this stuff called Salvia Divinorum, and I took it because I wanted to have an out-of-body experience, like a shamanic experience. And instead of an out-of-body experience, I feel like it took me into hell. It was one of the most frightening experiences I ever had. And and the reason I'm bringing this up is because you had mentioned the matrix pods and our future selves mining us now for our imagination. And I felt like I was not necessarily inside of a pod, but it did have that matrix feel. And I felt like I was only allowed to do things when this other entity would allow me to do it. And it reminded me of the Yama and the Samsara texts. And I just wonder, and that really freaked me out about the singularity. It spooked the hell out of me, man. I'm still scared.
With that said,
about that.
Isn't that interesting? The way somehow other thoughts balance it so that you can't quite complete the thought. Because the way you put psyche into matter is with emotions, EQ. Now, with that said, that means you have to be very careful with your thoughts, because if you're not disciplined, and that's why all your saints in history have stressed the importance of meditation, training the mind as a tool. I hope that made ripples in your memory. To start these disciplines like swimming at the Y. I do that every year. I was about to go to swimming when I realized it's at 9:30 a.m. or p.m.
Right.
Well, I just go, oh my gosh, I'm on in 10 minutes. I haven't even shaved.
Me either.
By the way, one of the things that I encountered with Krill at Groom Lake, that one single tour I did, one of the things she said is, if you were to choose an artifact to remember Earth by, what would it be? And if you chose the right one, you could complete your evolution with the star of your choice. What does that all mean? Well, let's examine part of it. Star of my choice means that anything with a face, 2 arms, and 2 legs is a carbon-based life form, including little green men from Mars. And my artifact that I would choose to remember Earth by was my razor, because for $29, I can get new blades that I need every year. In other words, our technology isn't going anywhere. We're not going further in advance. It's all about money. That's how I'm going to remember Earth by. I mean,
man.
You're getting the bigger picture. There's something else going on here. Homo neanderthalis was a more evolved species than Homo sapien. Had 3 rings in the DNA. That entity could experience 5 dimensions. Where is it?
Great point.
I don't know. And probably will never know. I'm not in anthropology, but I can tell you they're making discoveries, and we're getting closer and closer to why we need to start changing our ways of thinking. And just about that time when you have the enlightenment of aha, the petri dish is wiped.
So there's something overlooking this whole situation. And it's programmed to, once we get to a certain point, like take us back a few steps or start us over.
They're obviously mining something from us. What would it be? And the only thing I came up with was our imagination as an energy form. And that's what distinguishes us from army ants and Cambodia and all the rest of what we are currently enjoying as our reality.
Real quick, I wanted to show off DRAM's website. It's richardallenmiller.com, and he has dozens of books there and awesome tutorials. He also has the Daily Conspiracy. You can sign up to that for free. It's for entertainment purposes only. That's also available on his website, and really cool Daily Conspiracy updates. Also, check out the full interview on our Patreon page. It's about an hour and a half. Great content. I've done dozens of interviews with DRAM, and those are available at leakproject.com and patreon.com. We've got 10 years worth of podcasts on our leakproject.com website. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Hit the bell. Be well. Be excellent to each other. Be the change you want to see. And part 2 is coming up.